I'm also joined by guests in our studio, Professor Makran Paranjpe, Director of Indian Institute of Advanced Study from Noida, Walter Anderson, former US State Official in State Department, and Jasper Reed, investment expert from our studio. We'll be joined by other guests, but starting with you, Jasper, what are your bets?
Well, I think it's difficult to judge Kasket this time. I'm not sure I'd agree that this is, as said, the best possible indicator of the national election. I mean, it's notoriously difficult to judge the mood of a country at the third quarter of the game. It looks like Congress are having a bit of a comeback, but we need to see the results. MP looks rather close to call at the moment. But I would state that you know, the timing of this is easy to judge as a so-called semi-final or a run-up. But in truth, it might well just be a friendly match. I mean, we saw in 2009 that the final state elections bore no relation to the subsequent national elections. So fascinating from a kind of litmus test perspective. Whether it's a precursor of the national, who knows?
Dr. Addison?
I agree. I have to sort of correct you on one thing. I was formerly at the State Department, not now. Some of my colleagues there would be surprised if they listened to this and say, oh, what is he speaking? He hasn't cleared anything yet. I'm at Hopkins University now. I totally agree. I think it's a stretch to say that this is necessarily a precursor of what's going to happen. It might. It might. It depends on the size of the victory of one side or the other. If the Congress romps home with most of the states at a fairly significant margin, that's going to have an effect. It'll make it easier for them to cooperate with potential allies to form that kind of alliance that they've been speaking of. And it'll be more difficult for the BJP to hold its NDA alliance together. In fact, we're already seeing crumbling around the edges in the last couple of days on that. So a lot depends on...
I don't think there's much of an alliance there.
Well, there is. I mean, they have two or three parties that are somewhat significant, one in Bihar and one in Maharashtra. So, you know, it counts. And it'll particularly count now because one of the predictions is that the BJP is not likely to get a majority of the Lok Sabha seats. And in fact, it's in these three states. The BJP won 62 of 65 Lok Sabha seats the last time around. That's incredible. Can they repeat that? Probably not. But in terms of whether it's predicted, it depends on the size of the victory. And most of the polling that's been done so far indicates that it'll be relatively narrow in some of the key states.
Mr. Paranjpe, what's your take on this? Why has suddenly a talk has started that maybe that the Congress has got its mojo back?
Well, I think I tend to agree with both the previous speakers to the extent that I think, first of all, it'll be a close call. All the exit polls seem to suggest that the clear indications, except possibly Rajasthan, haven't emerged. Secondly, I also agree that we need not see it as a semi-final. In fact, in the past, several times, like 2003, several states, these same states, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, went to BJP, but 2004 Lok Sabha elections they lost. But I think the really important thing is if they do well here, then they are going to benefit by the momentum. Because the really important factor for Lok Sabha elections is, of course, Narendra Modi. I mean, it's the Namo factor, that's the X factor, that's going to change everything. So I think the BJP strategy has been to insulate Narendra Modi from the results of these elections, and yet keep that small possibility that if they do well, then the Modi wave can actually extract mileage from what has happened.
But isn't that a common strategy of any hegemonic party? If you look at Congress party in 70s and 80s, the victory would go to the Gandhis, but the loss would go to the party.
Yes, it is common, but here I think what's happened is that Modi has been leading from the front and campaigning in several states and winning them for his party almost single-handedly. But in this scenario, right now what we see is that he hasn't been campaigning as much. I mean, I think he had 15 rallies in Madhya Pradesh, in Rajasthan, where he gave a lot of time and energy because I think that state was possibly going the other direction. But he hasn't come out, as openly and as strongly as in the past. And the reason for that is not just, as you were saying, that the credit should go to him and the defeat should go to the local leaders, but really, I think that the Lok Sabha campaign is going to be done totally differently. See, here the campaign is on local issues. And for BJP, it's been anti-incumbency that they have to deal with. I mean, all these people, except Vasundhara Raje, of course, who's had 5 years, but she was there previous to the last Gehlot,
Yes.
5-year period. So I think that they've been trying to insulate the party from anti-incumbency more than worry about the Lok Sabha elections.
Okay, I'll come back to you on this. A very relevant point you have